Welcome back, Knuckleheads. I am Lupine Fiasco, and this is Daily FaB Gameplay. For anyone who's new to the channel, welcome to the jungle. What we do here is review replays of games that I played on the Talishar client days or weeks ago, after enough time has passed, that I lose my bias and can more objectively judge the quality of my play. I will talk through turn cycles and give my thoughts on the line I would take now, compared to the line I took then at the time of recording. We either reinforce good play patterns or identify areas for improvement for the purpose of tightening and improving our gameplay in the future to take down paper events like the upcoming Skirmish and ProQuest season, and most importantly, walk away with that shiny cardboard. If you'd like to check out the list I'm playing here or try it for yourself on Talishar, there is a FaB deck link in the video description below. While you're down there, if you haven't already done so, please consider a YouTube subscription. It is the best free way to support me and to make sure that you see daily FaB gameplay in your video feed 5 days a week. The best paid way to support me is through Patreon, and a Patreon link is also in the video description. A Patreon subscription will get you access to the DFG Discord and the shiny cardboard Talishar card back. At higher tiers, your name will appear in every DFG video, and you could receive bonus DFG content every week. Daily FaB gameplay will always be free 5 days a week, so those who can afford to patronize me, I truly appreciate it. I also now am on X, and if you would like to see memes, inane comments, and the occasional self-promotion, head on over to X and follow Lupine Fiasco. Now, without further ado, let's talk about our sideboard and about our game plan. Having lost the die roll to Azalea, we will be going second. I honestly don't know how I feel about that. A lot of it comes down to what Azalea does with her turn one. Sometimes we can block a non-dominated arrow. Sometimes we cannot block a dominated arrow, depending on the associated on-hits. We're either totally fine or screwed for the rest of the game. But that is outside of our control. What is inside of our control is how we sideboard. We will just be bringing in yellow pulping and cutting pack hunt. The idea being that we cannot play mid-range against Azalea anymore. With the way that she's building, she is so incredibly consistent with getting 2 or 3 pumps and an arrow every turn that just blocking out and waiting for her to brick with 4 arrows or 4 pumps is basically impossible. It is incredibly statistically unlikely to happen, and it isn't something we can play for. So rather than playing the mid-range game, we need to just race. We're going super aggro, green FaB, all of the go again, and just trying to convert 4-card hands into go again, Mandible Claw, finisher. Pack Hunt, 2 for 6, blocks 3, great. Azalea is incredibly uninterested in blocking until not doing so would kill her, so there is no chance that Pack Hunt is ever going to hit anything like a defense reaction or, oops, it hit an arrow and she really needed that 3 block. That can happen at the end of the game, but we are sideboarding for getting to the end of the game. Amnesia does literal nothing against Azalea. Weakest Link could hit Rain Razors, but that isn't a reason to play it, and Cast Bones is way too slow for the matchup. Our game plan is just looking to convert 4-card hands. You'll arsenal a card if you don't draw go again, or if you get red in the ledger. Otherwise, arsenaling is not really a priority. It is not bad to arsenal a card. You do play around Codex of Frailty that way, but we are just looking to send damage as much as possible. And if you are playing to set up, you are more likely to get blown out by Seek and Destroy or Lace with Inertia. We are just going to jump into it. There's no need to say anything else, and we're going to see how this game goes for us. Right off the bat, really interesting hand. We get to play a Wild Ride pitch a Wild Ride to do so, and maybe discard a Beast Within. Alternatively, Azalea does just get us with the turn 0 knock into Lace with Frailty, Red in the Ledger. So we unfortunately cannot block this out unless we give a significant amount of armor, which we do not want to do. Equally, unfortunately, is that Azalea does not have an arsenal. She has pitched and played all of her cards, so Command and Conquer really doesn't do anything. We would maybe want to consider blocking this with Beast Within and Apex Bonebreaker, cover 5, take 3, make a Might, and on our turn, pitch Wild Ride or a card that we drew to play CNC for 7 and hit the arsenal. But we just can't, which really sucks for us. So that being the case, not really worth blocking with Bonebreaker here. We would prefer to save that for an on-hit that we could deal with, we could actually stop. I like blocking with CNC, and then depending on what we draw, pitching our Beast Within to play Wild Ride. Hopefully the card that we draw is either something that we could pitch or something that we wouldn't mind having in our arsenal. But looking to set up for that 5-card hand, and that is what I'm saying, where sometimes you just don't have a better option than to set up. Red in the Ledger will not let you do anything except set up. So we draw a Assault and Battery, which is nice because we get to pitch the Assault and Battery to play Wild Ride, and regardless of whether we discard our Wild Ride Yellow or Command and Conquer, we are happy to arsenal the other one. If we had another blue in hand, I would think about playing the Assault and Battery and beating Chest to set up for our next turn, but for that to happen, we wouldn't get an arsenal, and I would much rather have an arsenal, especially if that arsenal is Wild Ride or Command and Conquer. So we'll just play Wild Ride here, pitch our Assault and Battery, see what we draw, discard, lose a Bear Fangs. So we're attacking for 6, we have made our Might, and as far as what we want to arsenal, I think that Wild Ride is better. Wild Ride in Arsenal plays a lot better with Bloodrush Bellow in hand. Go Again in hand, it lets us use our Savage Sash to turn on a big 5-card hand a lot more easily. Another hand where Azalea is not going to have an arsenal, that's a real shame. We can think about whether we want to block this Inertia Shot or not. This is not dominated. We could block this out in its entirety if we really wanted to. We don't really want to. We could give 2 CNCs and E-Strike, Savage Sash to stop the 11. Our turn is just play Wild Ride from Arsenal, replace our Might. But that seems really low value. The inertia here doesn't matter a ton because we can play this hand out. We'll play our Wild Ride, pitch our Mighty Windup. We float a resource. If we discard our E-Strike and draw a red or a yellow, then we just Command and Conquer. If we draw a blue, we get to Claw Command and Conquer. If we draw a red, discard a CNC, we can Claw E-Strike. We get really big damage lines if we just keep 5 cards. And that seems a lot better to me than trying to play that mid-range game, which, as we know, just kind of doesn't work. If we block with CNC, then we are still keeping the door open for Wild Ride, E-Strike, Wild Ride, CNC. We float a resource regardless of what we draw, we have a line. I just don't like blocking with the CNC here because we are giving up our Mandible Claw and we're racing, right? I would much rather deal 3 damage than prevent 3 damage, especially when we are up on life. There is an idea that, well, we preserve life now so that when Azalea looks to dominate an arrow to end the game, we have enough life to survive it. But that isn't the plan. We're boarding specifically to race. and to go zoomy green FaB. Blocking here seems really bad. So that is what I'm choosing to do. When we play out our next hand, we'll just keep in mind, what can we do with an extra card in hand, with an extra resource? And at this point, yeah, we do see an extra Command and Conquer in hand is worth 3 damage, because currently our line is going to be E-Strike for 7 pass. If we had a CNC, we would get to Claw as well. And that means more to me than having prevented 3. I would happily be at 24 right now if Azalea was at 25. Yeah, that's just a trade I would make. We're racing. So we see our first Blood Rush Bellow of the game, which is looking pretty good. We get hit by a Codex of Blood Rot, which says that we are going to need to put one of the cards in our hand into our arsenal. Blood Rush Bellow seems like a good card to do. It's either Blood Rush Bellow or Run Roughshod. I would not put Mighty Windup or Riled Up into my arsenal. So if we are thinking about how we want to look to win this game, it is through Blood Rush Savage Sash, in which case I'd rather have Run Roughshod around to protect the Blood Rush than vice versa. But we're just seeing what the rest of Azalea's turn looks like. We have an 11 power Sleep Dart coming in. The Sleep Dart itself is not something that I care too much about. More so, I care about the inertia. What is especially impactful about Sleep Dart is that all of our blues, our 5 power blues, which our hand is full of, are no longer 6s. Because our hero power will be turned off by the Sleep Dart. So Blood Rush is off. And so if we are now evaluating value, there is no way that we can get 11 points of value out of this hand to match the Sleep Dart. The best we can do with this hand is pitch Riled Up to attack with Mandible Claw for 4, discard Mighty Windup to make well, actually, never mind, because we're Sleep Darted. Mighty Windup is a 5 power attack as far as Kayo can see it, so our Claw doesn't get go again, and our Run Roughshod can't attack. The only way to get value out of this hand is by blocking, and if we're blocking 8, we are still unfortunately taking 3. That breakpoint, super relevant in the fact that Mighty Windup only blocks 2. So how I think we need to use this hand is block for 8, plus 4 between Savage Sash and Scabskin Leathers, and just protect our Blood Rush. Hope that Azalea doesn't draw well on our next hand, or that we get value out of our Flesh Bag. Just really unfortunate timing from the Sleep Dart. And of course it's a Codex, so it gives Azalea a Ponder. I mean, the card would be completely underpowered if it didn't give you a Ponder at the end of it. This hand looks a lot better with Blood Rush. If we do get hit by another Sleep Dart, we can just block with a Riled Up, and then, well, maybe not because of the Wild Ride. Anyway, we have got a Bolt and Shot coming in for 9 with Go Again. The reload effect is active, so Flesh Bag is looking very good. If we do block with Flesh Bag, we take 7. We have a Seek and Destroy, which we can play around because we are intending to convert this entire hand to offense, and we just play a Blood Rush. So if we block with Flesh Bag, we are really hoping that we discard our blue or even the Swing Big. We want to keep this Wild Ride, and I think we are going to play the Blood Rush here. So I would like to, it actually doesn't really matter which blue we pitch, because if we do have an extra blue at the end of this turn, then we just pay it into Blood Rot Pox. Do we want to sash here? We have 3 blues and 2 resources. The answer is no. We do want to sit on this sash, but I do like starting with Wild Ride instead of Mandible Claw. We are opening ourselves up to getting unlucky and just like ripping a Blood Rush off the top and then discarding it to Wild Ride, but it does at least give us the chance at finding more gas. We do draw a Beast Within. Unfortunately, we don't discard it. That would have been nice. This line is just going to be Mandible Claw, Beast Within. We could have pitched the Wrecker Romp to attack with Riled Up for 8, then discard Beast Within to the Seek and Destroy effect, which would draw us a card for our arsenal. But we are missing 5 points of damage if we take that line, and all of our blues suck. We are not happy to arsenal any blue in our deck, so we absolutely lose value taking that line. Instead, we are just going to Claw for 5, Riled Up for 8, expecting that Azalea is going to break Balance of Justice this turn, but she does take 5 damage, goes to 10, we go to 16, and we're just going to hope for the best, really. Blind Azalea into Take Aim. It's probably going to be good enough. She foregoes the reload. So Infecting Shot here, expecting that this is going to lead into a Codex of Frailty. Snapdragon Codex of Frailty. Do I hate or like not blocking with Bonebreaker? I would have liked to take a peek at Azalea's discard before I made this decision. We don't get might value out of the Bonebreaker if we block with it here, but we do get our armor value, and if Azalea is going to snap Codex, then she closes the chain, and we could potentially block with the back half of Bonebreaker as well. I don't think this is necessarily wrong. I think that is fine. Azalea is going to play the Codex. She is going to need to discard this card in her hand, which is great news for us. Azalea grabs Searing Shot. So we are looking at a potential 5 points of damage if we don't block, and then another 2 points of damage from the Bloodrot Pox. Thinking about what we have going on, it was just kind of unfortunate. We're going to discard a Pulping. We can discard a Pulping, pick up a... As if we're gonna... Okay, so if we are intending to block the Searing Shot for 4, then we want to put a 3 block and a Scab Skins in front of it, which means that we discard a Pulping to the Codex, then block with a blue. That means we have a Pulping and a blue. The Pulping is going to attack for 5 because the Might and the Frailty cancel out. Azalea goes to 5. If we have broken our... We can either pick up Run Roughshod and follow the 5 with a 4, which Azalea needs to give us a card, or we take Swing Big as just the highest amount of damage in our discard. We break Savage Sash, which says that we Pulping for 5, Swing Big for 7, and Azalea just needs to give us a card. That is really unfortunate. This hand just is not lining up the way that we need it to, which means that our best line is very likely to discard Pulping, block the Searing Shot, grab an E-Strike with... Grab the E-Strike with Codex. E-Strike for 7, bottoming one of our blues, and then just arsenaling a Pulping. I guess Swing Big technically is the same thing. Oh, I hate this. This is really bad. I get what I'm going for, where I want to look to... Pulping swing big. Yeah, I don't think this was the line, and I don't think taking 2 damage to keep my sash was the line. This is going to let me Mandible Claw, and so I'm getting 16 points of damage here. I think this might have been a situation where I did want to play more mid-rangey, just because we're getting hit by Frailty twice, which is really unfortunate. Yeah, I think we could have played that a little better. So what I'm thinking about now is if I want to just run Roughshod for 4, run Roughshod for 5 even, or if I want to swing big. But if I run Roughshod for 5, Azalea just gives us a card and then has 4 cards to kill us. Where if we swing big, she has to give us 2. At this point, we are going to go to 4, and depending on what we draw, we could win. So we have a Pulping. Unfortunately, we have a red Bear Fangs, so depending on what this turn looks like, we cannot play the Pulping. Right, and we can't even grab a Pulping from our discard because we have 2 red non-blocks. So Azalea has grabbed, I believe it is Searing Shot again. Searing Shot is going to attack for 9 with, on hit 10. We can cover 7 of that with Wrecker Romp, Swing Big, and Bone Breaker. But then we do nothing. Our best line here is E-Strike, and just pray that Azalea draws kind of poorly. So we're going to grab an E-Strike, we're going to discard a non-block, we're going to cover the Searing Shot for 7, we're going to take 3 points of damage down to 1, and then we are E-Striking for 8, because we have 2 mites. And we're just hoping that Azalea drew 3 2-blocks and another Rain Razors. She doesn't, so she is able to cover 8, and at this point we just need her to either attack or not blind Azalea into an era. With a pre-med, if that blind Azalea is a buff, then she just loses the game. So unfortunate variance for us. Let me know in the comments if you saw where I could have won this game. Because if I'm going back and I'm looking at it, I think that I might have made some defensive plays rather than offensive, but also based on how the life totals looked. Let's see, was there... So here, yeah, okay, so here is where we got punished. Oh, we got punished, yep, it was this turn, right? So the decision of do we block with the Command and Conquer or do we save the Command and Conquer to Mandible Claw? Here is where, if we could be at 3, Azalea would be dead. If we were at... Azalea would be at 1 here. She'd have to give us a card from hand to stay alive, which means that here she is at 4 with 3 cards in hand, and Swing Big for 7 says that she needs to give us 2 more cards, still takes damage, has a card in hand, card in arsenal. Okay, so this, yeah. Okay, good. Don't let me know in the comments where you saw that I could have won the game, because I saw where I could have won the game. Yeah, we were defensive on a turn that we needed to be offensive. It did not serve us to be defensive because we got equivalent value out of offense and defense. But in a matchup where we're racing, always skew towards offense. All right, well, I don't want to say bad variance on our side. Azalea did the Azalea thing. Her being able to ponder so often really did hurt us. All of those codexes, just letting her play out 4 cards. And then Arsenal, a 5th card, was really unfortunate. Also unfortunate that she started doing that late after we had already seen our Command and Conquers and Send packings, because while Disruption is not super effective at turning off Azalea's turn, any card you snipe out of the arsenal is probably a minimum of 3 points of value. Every lace is a minimum of 3 points of value. So a little bad timing there, but absolutely. The Command and Conquer block here lost us the game. Yeah, we needed to just take 11 points of damage and then work a Mandible Claw into our next turn. So really interesting stuff. Glad that I remembered that, because a lot of you would have told me in the comments, hey, remember the thing you said? Yeah, that was the thing that needed to happen. Good. I hope you enjoyed this game. I hope you learned something. If so, be sure to assault and batter that like button. My comments are always open for any questions or feedback. If you have not already done so, please consider a YouTube subscription for more hard-hitting self-critique like what you just saw. I have a Patreon, I have a Twitter. Those links are in the video description below. And you can catch me next time for more daily FaB gameplay. Until then, take care.